Great to meet you again, Robert.
Yep, lovely to see you, Mushtaq. So
Thank you.
names. What's in a name?
What's in a name? Yes, I think names are very important things.
So did
Uh,
Shakespeare.
yes, you're right. So we have been talking about the name that we wanted to call this podcast, and we sort of loved Beyond the Ivory Tower. And then, as you rightfully say, live in the conversation, this concept of maps came in. So we came up with the name When the Map Runs Out. And I think because we were looking for a website and we found the name Mapless available. And we were thinking, should we call this Mapless? I was talking to my son and I was asking him, Mapless or When the Map Runs Out. He felt that Mapless is a bit dystopian, and while When the Map Runs Out is more poetic. So I don't know how do you feel, because you're usually very good in framing, and probably you'll have three things to say.
They're going to make me think three things. So thing one, I quite like the Beyond the Ivory Tower because I think it spoke to the identity of you and I as people who believe really passionately in universities, but also that universities are in the world and for the world. They're not these separate places.
Yep.
So I think I really liked that. Thing two, in pragmatic terms, having decided I liked it, I went and looked and discovered that there were a few other Beyond the Ivory Tower type podcasts. And in the meantime, we'd had our conversation about maps and the difference between map reading and map making. And I really liked that part of the conversation. And thing three, then, when we looked at When the Map Runs Out, I do agree with your son that that's a poetic turn of phrase. It's also a phrase, I think, which it depends on your outlook as to whether you see that as optimistic or pessimistic. And so my reflection would be, if you were hoping to just follow somebody else's recipe, discovering that the map runs out could be quite a frustrating thing. You know, you get all the way to the T-junction and think, goodness, where's the map gone? But if you're hoping to become the best at something and to be a pioneer and to create your own story, the idea that the map runs out is one of hope and possibility because, well, who knows what's across the horizon. So I agree with the poeticism, but my thing three, since you asked for three things, would be that in response to your son, I would say, again, it's the same thing about mapless.world. I like mapless.world because it's short. I like that it is global in its orientation rather than mapless.co.uk or mapless.com or mapless.my. And so I quite like mapless.world, but I also think so where he might read that as a bit dystopian, I read it as a real invitation to the individual, to the organization, to society to think, well, what are you going to do? There is no map for how to deal with this. Nobody's ever dealt with this before. And there's so many layers in our conversation about both the leadership challenges in organizations, the educational challenges for universities, and the individual citizen challenges of deciding how best to live your life to your fullest potential that I read as positive in a mapless world. And also, by the way, it doesn't imply that there aren't parts of the world that are already very well mapped. If you decide you want to do something someone's already done before, you could go over to our sister podcast, Mapped World, and just follow the right recipe.
Yeah. So sometimes, you wish you can keep all of them, but reality is we will be eventually going with one. For me, because I'm sort of doing the production as well, so I've already put the Beyond the Ivory Tower as a logo, is like sort of here in the video, and I built another logo for the mapless world, and I was about to replace it, but then we started When the Map Runs Out, And then we came up with the mapless world, and I'm saying, okay, let's just settle this before I keep on changing the videos, because it takes a bit of time to do it. But it's really fantastic. And the thing that I like is we are continuing to produce content. So we have a couple of episodes now. So that's it's not a bad thing that we are continuously thinking about the
5 or 6 down, 94 to go.
yes. Yeah, we're thinking of the name. So did I read you feeling that mapless in a mapless world as something that you are gravitating towards? Because let's go and hang on to something and move on. Yeah.
So my view as of today would be I quite like mapless.world as a URL. I really like that because it's easy to remember and it is a unique thing. It's resonant with the conversations that we have had and will have. And my only hesitation is your son's sense of it being dystopian.
Right.
But I'd really like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I actually, one of the things that we could do, we can use the mapless.world for the URL and keep when the map runs out. But of course, I would also prefer to have something short and have it sort of consistently on all channels. So probably if I can convince you of either a shorter or less subtitle for the logo, then mapless world, and then when you ask questions, we explain it to you. Of course, we can always add the explanation and when we explain the concept. But for the logo, maybe just mapless world.
Yeah. And so then we can have an entire book series, movies, a TV docuseries of baking in a mapless world, studying in a mapless world, retiring in a mapless world, yoga in a mapless world. The possibilities are endless, Mushtaq.
You are right. And Robert, I just came yesterday from a conference in Chengdu in China, and one of the presenters was reflecting on AI, and he said, and probably he's in the education field, as you could imagine, and he said, and I think he is not necessarily far from truth. He said, now I could use AI, I could pick a topic, I could use AI to help me write a full thesis about it, and I could learn everything in that thesis, and I could potentially go for a Viva within a month. And it's not that I copied, it's not that I did not learn, but the struggle, I didn't really go through the struggle. And the reason I'm thinking about this is the amount we're struggling about the name. I think this is so valuable.
Yeah.
Rather than we just go to an AI and say, suggest a name, create a logo, and produce the podcast. And I think that will continue to become valuable as we move on into an age where whatever you produce, people may think, did actually Robert really struggle to make this? I feel so proud I have published books before AI. I mean, this is fascinating, isn't it? Your thoughts on that, Robert?
But you know me, I like a quote. So one of my favourite films ever is The Commitment by Alan Parker. And in it, there's a quote after a disastrous first rehearsal for a band that are forming with great hopes of world domination and endless riches. And it's not very good. And the only professional musician in the band, the manager, comes up to him and says, "What did you think, Joey?" And the only experienced musician says, "It was a beginning. And after the beginning, everything is inevitable." And so I really like this sense in which the work is actually starting.
Yep.
That's the thing, and I feel that we could spend an endless amount of time talking about and looking for a unique URL and podcast title and theme and logo and look and feel for our conversations. And that would be the subject of the conversation rather than the content itself. So my view is I would pick one and make a start and see where it takes us to.
Okay.
And I think success stories are often told retrospectively
You're
and
right.
look straightforward. What you don't see is the iterations that didn't make the final cut.
So
So
it's good.
actually, by recording this conversation, we're showing some of our inner workings in a nascent sense.
Mm,
But I guess we'll have to listen to the reaction of not just your son, but other audience members and stakeholders, if there are
mm,
any, and discover whether that's seen as dystopian or not. But my sales pitch to the world would be, it doesn't have to be. It actually could be quite a liberating sense that there is no prescription to follow and you have to decide
mm.
for yourself. Because that's the thing I think that generative AI cannot do for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, interestingly, when I again asked my son about Beyond the Ivory Tower, he didn't get it. So I said, people usually refer to the Ivory Tower as the university and, the world of academia. He said, never heard of that. So maybe it's a generational thing as well. So,
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, so I
Maybe he's
think,
going to be our first guest / interrogation.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? So I think we are sort of closing in a mapless world or in a mapless world. And I think what you've just said about maybe a book or a chapter of living in a mapless world, leading in a mapless world, retiring in a mapless world, traveling in a mapless world, or whatever that might be, is quite campaignable in a way, and
Yeah.
it could be something. So that's something that adds to it. And of course, we can talk about the Ivory Tower and when the map runs out in the framing, and as we produce. The intellectual backing for the whole of that. So I think whatever we thought of is not necessarily wasted. I think it's in the
No,
foundation, and
definitely not.
sometimes you don't see the foundation because it's buried, but it's so important, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I was just thinking in terms of a structure for writing, because
Mm,
eventually you and I are, even if it's only just for posterity and just for us, you and I like writing.
you do, yeah.
So, so you could have chapter 1A, which is leading in a mapped world and interview a leader about how they did something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could ask them a set of questions about if you were doing that again today, because most people's stories of our age, Mushtaq, are stories which, well, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or even 30 years ago when I started this business or when I started this career,
Right.
and the stories often have this sense that don't think that would work straightforwardly today because so many of the tectonic plates have shifted. So you could have a pattern which is how did you build a map? You could reflect with individuals as to whether or not they were map making or map reading and when they made the transition. Really
Mm,
successful stories, I suspect, start out map reading and end up map making. And then we could ask people to reflect on if they were starting again now with the world configured as it is and with the technologies available, what would you do differently?
right. So I think I quite like that. So the people start map reading, following a map, then the map runs out, and you are in a mapless world, and then you need to create or make your own map, which someone else may follow, and then that map will run out or prove that at the fringes and the edges not that accurate, which is actually uh, exactly what uh, cartographers and old map makers, what they know a certain area clearly, but the area beyond, they just say this is the place where the devils live and please don't go there because
Yeah,
it's unknown. And someone comes and say yes, it's a mapless world and I'm going to expand it. So I think that notion of actually you need that mapless world because without it there'll be no opportunities, there'll be no area to expand, and we take it from there.
it's a great plan.
Fantastic. So for now, we have the name, unless we
Unless
sleep
somebody
tonight and
else says something.
yeah, and we wake up and we realize we want to do something else. So provided that this domain is still there, I'm going to buy it right after this, just to make
Okay.
sure that we have it.